safety on this fire mission for the crew, for those who are being helped. So as we try to grasp, what do we do? The media has put this on the front page of the paper. It's the leading news story in Connecticut, and all the TV news stations. And so we're being besieged by the media while we're going through this unspeakable grieving, And some of you have experienced that, and Sam Shepard, I don't know how in God's name he went through all that. But in moments like these, somehow our Creator gives us the resources that we don't even know we have to draw on to get through this, and the prayers and support of people all over, lifting you up in ways you know not. My mother was called by the Hartford Courant shortly after my brother's murder, on the evening of my brother's murder. And the question from the reporter was, how do you feel about the man who killed your son? Should I keep going or should I stop? You can hear me okay? And my dear mother, who was a daily communicant, without much pause, told the reporter, on the cross, Jesus said, "God forgive them, they know not what they do." And this is my same response for this man who killed my son. God forgive him. And so several days later, there was a very public funeral in Hartford for my brother, where people from the community came out in amazing numbers, and several hundred people couldn't even get into the church. The mayor came, the archbishop was there, 30 priests were there. It was incredible. And during that time, I was moved to offer the eulogy for Paul. And again, it was through the grace of God I was able to get through it. But one of the things that became very clear as the days, several days went on after we learned about who Dennis was, that he had suffered from severe mental illness, that he'd been homeless, that the state of Connecticut cut funds 6 months earlier for the mentally ill homeless, and so this brother fell through the cracks. He was unmonitored, nobody, responsible for his medication, and he was estranged from his family. And so this brings out a whole another dimension in our death penalty work of the role mental illness plays in this issue. And so during my eulogy, I made a public appeal that not only we show mercy for Dennis, but also that we work for a society that provides a continuum of care for our brothers and sisters who are suffering from mental illness, where they get all the necessary resources that they need to become restored and healed. It's been 8 years almost now since my brother died, and it seems like yesterday. And so I bring him here into the circle, along with Dennis. And in Connecticut, where the death penalty is law, and where a year and a half ago, Michael Ross was the first person executed in Connecticut in 60 years. I was outside the gates during his execution, denouncing it with several hundred other people. But in Connecticut, the death penalty is law, and if Dennis had been deemed mentally competent to stand trial, he would face the death penalty. And members of our family unequivocally oppose that. So Dennis is now in a hospital for the criminally insane, where he'll probably spend the rest of his life. One of the things that, again, how the Spirit works in these tragedies, and amazing things happen. Through a priest friend, I learned that members of Dennis's family attended a church right across the street from the Hartford Catholic worker. And he had asked me, the pastor asked me if at some point I might be willing to meet members of Dennis's family. And I talked with my mother about it, and she said, well, you know, I would be open to that. Other members of my family weren't quite ready for that, but as it turns out, so my dad's in the hospital, very ill. Then my mother, right after my brother's funeral, went into the hospital. She had a case of cellulitis, but we didn't know for sure what it was. So on the last day of my mother's release from the hospital, I looked up Dennis's sister-in-law, who was a nurse at this hospital, and I went up to her office, and I introduced myself. And she, of course, was very much in disbelief. You know, she couldn't believe I was there. And I said, you know, can we talk a little bit if you have a moment? And so she did. And we went and talked for a couple minutes. And so my mother's being released from the hospital. And there's a mass at noontime, and, you know, would you like to join us for the mass? And she said, sure. And so we were able to go to mass together, and then afterwards we spent about a half an hour where we learned more about Dennis's story and how her family had tried to help him, and to no avail. And then she proceeded to tell us about how her family is totally devastated by what happened. Her daughter was asking her, how can I love my uncle who killed somebody? You know, he's an evil man. So she's faced with this whole challenge of how to explain this. And then come to find out that Dennis's sister-in-law had gone to the same high school where my brother teaches, and then there's all these interesting connections, you know, some of her children have gone to the school and everything.